Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about AI and machine learning. Sayad, let's talk about a specific program that we'd like to focus on. You all are in a unique position where you're really striped across all of these various agencies. Give us one program that you'd like to highlight.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. We all know, and as the general talked about, significant, month by month, improvements taking place. We're experiencing the same thing. We're going out in the field and finding out there's a shortage of staff, experienced staff, people with limited cybersecurity knowledge, and security operations teams are just struggling to get the right people in the right places and trying to get them to defend, our country, our assets, our, crown jewels. So what we've done is, based on AI and ML, we've come out with a functionality within our Fortinet's network detection response solution. The functionality is called Virtual Security Analyst. Basically, it is taking care of between 5 to 10 human security, cybersecurity experts, and leveraging this virtual security analyst approach and saying, okay, if we didn't have enough people, can we take this VSA, virtual security analyst, have all the intelligence built in, and then provide the needed help that the agencies need? If deployed adequately, if deployed in the right places, we feel that we can take care of this massively expanding, attack surface. So if we can take data, virtual security analyst is deployed, we're looking at all the attack vectors, and then leveraging AI and ML, being able to identify, hey, what the threat is it a malware? Is it a downloader? Is it a type of, a business email compromise? What is it that's being, leveraged here to attack this organization? So if virtual security analyst is deployed adequately, we feel that we have nobody has a silver bullet. We absolutely believe in that. However, we feel if you have multiple layers of cybersecurity solutions placed adequately, including the virtual security analyst, we should be able to really reduce the attacks that are taking place as we speak.
It sounds like maybe even do some automated response to some of the analysis. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely, you're spot on there. Automated response, right? That's why I said network detection and response. So we're detecting the threats and responding in an automated fashion. You're absolutely right.
Right, which I know is a little scary to folks, but I think the reality is, done carefully and done thoughtfully, and done in a very calculated and measured way, it absolutely makes sense, right? To take some of that sort of it's almost enhanced RPA, if you will, off the table, so that these folks can focus on the real high order, high value type of situations that we need the humans, so to speak, to focus their attention on.
Yes,
Tim,
thank you for. Just wanted to add one more comment.
Sure.
Brought it up. You're absolutely right. This solution comes built in with a database of features that are looking at various attack scenarios or vectors. Also has a database that doesn't have anything in it, but its purpose in life is to listen and learn when it's deployed in the environment. So if it sees something unusual, it will detect it and say, okay, this is a behavior that's not normal. But is it really not normal, or is it something that's normal for this agency? So that helps you reduce the false positives. Just wanted to mention that here.
Sure. Flag it. Tim, actually, we're going to come back to you in a minute. I want to ask Paul, very interested to know at this point where you've actually deployed that sort of AI as a service. I know you all are doing a lot of work across the federal agencies. Can you give us a specific example of where you all have been able to successfully implement that?
Sure, Luke, I appreciate the question. Actually, in several instances, but our largest program, which is an enterprise digital transformation program at GSA, is an example of where that enterprise, the AI as a service model is being deployed. Our focus is really on human-centered design and trying to make our team's efforts, more enhanced, more valuable to the customer. And if you think about having almost, 300 folks on program who are, engaging in customer service activities for that agency, our goal is to just try and make that as simplistic, shorten decision cycle times, provide them with the most practical responses, all at an accelerated speed, and with greater value to our customer.
Sure. And I would imagine that, again, having this, I'll say, packaged up in a way that you can acquire it as a service, there's a lot of financial advantages for doing that from a federal service standpoint. I don't think anyone would imagine that they were using this sort of as a service. Typically, they're thinking about it sort of embedded into some other kind of service. So I really do appreciate the offering, if you will, to the federal sector. Tim, now we're going to roll up to you. You gave us a great explanation about sort of why and where you all are doing these various assessments. How about an example of where you all have been forging this technology and then perhaps imparting some wisdom to the members and then perhaps a reaction back from them? Or just tell us how this works. Give us an example of where you all have been, examining this technology and enlightening the members.
Sure. Thanks, Luke. I really do think I really like what the general laid out in terms of there's a lot of this really is about better decisions, faster decisions, more data informed decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I am a science guy. I love the sci-fi movies, but unfortunately, the vacuum that's been filled in on AI is always this apocalyptic thing. Either we're all going to lose our jobs or we're all going to get destroyed by killbots. Both of those we're very far from anything even close to that. This really is about augmentation. So I think of AI as an augmentation of intelligence and really helping with these things. So for us at GAO, we are really about converting data into knowledge, and ultimately we want to inform our members and support wisdom so that better laws get passed or better oversight occurs. And so data is the basis of that. And that's how we sort of think about our value chain of what we're doing on that. So one of the things you mentioned, foraging, Luke, of the technology, we have foraged. We're using cloud native tooling sets and things like that to leverage the power of cloud as we have transformed ourselves from an on-prem IT, or we're still in that process, but setting up our innovation lab, we're able to have a greenfield startup. So I think that in that domain, we've been able to do some incredible things with relatively little, very powerful. One example is that we've both foraged the technology from cloud native IT, but also forged in terms of taking those and making a new tool set. So we've been basically we've created our own, for GAO, our own writing style, our own version of Grammarly or a tool like that to help out. And the reason is because we have to be stewards of federal data of all types across the government. We can't send our data out as is with that system out to some unknown cloud that we have no control of. We have no idea what's being used. So we're able to, with just relatively few of our data scientists, put together quickly a prototype that understands and speaks and understands writing in GAO's way, and then helps even do sentiment analysis, because we are a nonpartisan agency. That's very important. Our job isn't to take any sides in the political sphere, but our job is to inform that. So we have sentiment analysis going on through natural language processing. We have the grammatical checking, and we also need to write to a certain level, especially when I'm the managing director of a team with a lot of really smart science and engineer types, right? Almost doing a translational service into our lawmakers who are very sharp and know their issues, but oftentimes don't know science or engineering. How do we write in such a way that makes it accessible? So that's very important to us. It's a seemingly small example, but something that with NLP, AI-enabled, data-fueled type things, we're really changing for the better how we're serving our clients.
Yeah, it's interesting because what I think I hear you saying is you're actually using AI to inform the lawmakers about AI, which is fascinating.
Yes.
So that's it's a very interesting concept there. Jeffrey, let's talk about a use case, an example, if you will. I know you all are fairly new to the federal sector. I think you have done some work in that place, but you have extensive experience, again, in very highly regulated industries as well, that there's no question those port over and make a lot of sense. So give us an example of some programs you'd like to highlight.
Well, as you can imagine, with a lot of the experience we have in the banking and the financial sector, fraud detection is a huge use case for us. So you can think of of all of the different agencies in the government right now that are very concerned about financial fraud around the pandemic. It's tax season. And so one of the things that we're really good at is helping organizations understand, and the general use the term, I think, speed of the data, the way they want to act. We need to be able to do things in real time. And there are a lot of really, really good analytics, a lot of historical capabilities and knowledge that the government has. And what we want to do is help advance that, not replace it. And so, for example, PayPal, we do a ton of work with PayPal, and they've got years and years and years of real-time fraud analytics and capabilities, yet they still wanted to improve that. And so they brought H2O to come in, and we reviewed a lot of that data. And through our platform, we're able to tune and improve that model, where they were able to get almost a 60% increase in detection rates. So when you're operating at that kind of scale and you can begin to bring that over into the government, now you're really moving the needle, candidly, right? And I think part of what we're helping organizations understand, and Tim talked about the grammar part and how they're using natural language processing. We're noticing in a lot of organizations, they're really, really good people that tend to be still fairly stovepipe. So your image and analysts are working in certain workflows and certain tools, and they've got capabilities, and your natural language processing people are similarly organized. And so there's a fair amount of time that's spent helping those teams communicate and collaborate. And what we're trying to help them understand is that there are unified capabilities. So you can combine image and audio and video analysis, deep learning, neural networks, natural language processing, big data analysis, all done in parallel. Things that an individual data scientist could never do, or you certainly couldn't. You don't have the budget to build a team out like that. And these are things that are occurring in the commercial space that we're now bringing over in to these environments. So things that historically would be only retrospective, only done in large batches, things that would take months are literally now taking seconds and minutes. And so, candidly, our challenge, Luke, is helping the data scientists understand what's going on under the hood. They've spent years convincing their business owners that they can trust the data. Mm-hmm. Now, when you go in to a data scientist and they normally spend a month doing something and you can do it in 10 minutes, the first thing they want to do is they want to trust your results. So it's really interesting to see that dynamic. And so what's great is we're completely white box, totally transparent, go through the math. And I think helping organizations and the government understand we can move much more quickly and robustly is what really is what's been exciting. I mean, people get really, really pumped when we're able to walk them through, show them what the art of the possible is, and help them punch through some of these bottlenecks. So getting them a low code, no code capability. So, quickly, we had a use case with some folks in the DoD where they had teams of people working for months to build models. And we were able to come in and effectively build 500 models for them in a couple of days. And this completely changed how they interacted with the data, how they interrogated it, using the no-code, low-code environment to now drop demographics out very quickly, have dashboards, and communicate results. So this is exciting. And, you've got these problem sets, both in the Air Force, the DoD, the stuff that Tim's doing. We've done a little bit of work with Taka Ariga and that team. That's a really smart group of folks, and they're doing a lot of really interesting things most people don't know about.
Right, sure. And a lot of good use cases there. And we really do appreciate all that getting ported in again from the private sector into the public sector in the most needed area. General, let me ask you about your priorities for this year. You have a lot of different moving parts going on. I know there's got to be a top 2 or 3 priorities that you absolutely are trying to achieve in regards to AI for this year.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that question. Well, as I said before, our North Star, our absolute North Star driving vision is to operationalize data and AI ML readiness for information and decision advantage. But what does that really mean? That means becoming a global leader in responsible AI and the ethical application. We view this as the 3 R's: responsible AI, robust AI, and resilient AI. And I think when you look at the national security, the integrated deterrence environment, and the warfighting capacity that we must have as part of our broader mission responsibilities, those 3 R's of AI, again, responsible, resilient, and robust AI, those are essential to succeeding in this foray. We're aiming at AI readiness by 2025. And again, that is having a digitally savvy workforce, having the training data sets, having the enterprise IT, all the associated foundational training and readiness and infrastructure elements, and then putting it to play. And that's also then focused on AI leadership and being AI competitive in 2027. And that nicely aligns with our Secretary of the Air Force operational imperatives. He has 7 that has laid down the vanguard, the future capabilities that are absolutely essential to compete and win against against the global competitors and adversaries that we must be prepared to execute our missions against. So this is really the context that is driving everything that we're doing. We're laser focused on that. We've seen a significant increase, not in just funding, but also personnel. But we view this as an absolute team sport. So as you've heard, this is an industry and an academia and an interagency effort. We believe that tying together all the joint services, expanding to and across the whole of government, but most importantly, it's a whole of nation approach. And that's tying in the rich capabilities, the incredible intellectual capacity, the diversity, the entrepreneurial and innovative capacity of our industrial base in the United States and across our international partners and allies. So that's really our focus, and we're working diligently on that every day. This has got the view all the way to the top. The Deputy Secretary of Defense has AI ML readiness and responsible AI as the #2 defense priority, and our Secretary of the Air Force and Undersecretary of the Air Force are also absolutely focused on this as an enterprise ubiquitous capability that we must have to succeed.
No question that you've got an absolute laser focus on the North Star, and we really do appreciate that. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network.